Welcome back to another We Power podcast, another We Power broadcast. And you already know today's going to be another exciting show. We've got a guest that I've been chasing for a long time to get in the studio to drop the mic on the We Power podcast. And the challenge has been there's so much that this brother has that I just really didn't know what angle to bring in and drop. But just sitting here having a conversation with him, it dropped in my spirit. I'm going to welcome to the show a good friend of mine that we met only through the power of the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, and I'm thankful for the day that I met him, and we just naturally connected.
Yeah.
But with the theme of the show, you guys already know the theme of the We Power podcast is being able to identify what works for you and becoming a subject matter expert in that. For you know that here at We Power, we believe that one person's noble passion can be the solution to another person's problem. So our goal here is simply to expose the passions in people that we might expose solutions to our community. And before we jump in, we always want to thank our sponsors of the show, Victories Insurance Agency, LLC, Victoria Moore. I'll drop all of their contact information in the comments pertaining to this particular podcast. Victories Insurance Agency, LLC, Victoria Moore. Reach out to her for all of their insurance needs, especially coming into the Medicaid, Medicare season. FreeBirds General Contracting, Reginald Williams Sr. Reach out to FreeBirds General Contracting for all of your construction needs, from residential to commercial. He is lead abatement certified supervisor for the state of Indiana. And then our financial literacy expert, reach out to Life Financial Solutions. Life Financial Solutions, Brother David Fennell. Now let's jump right into it. Our special guest, good friend, man, we done prayed together, we done laughed together, we done cried together. This man, his heart, I would like to believe his heart he's got a David kind of heart, heart after God. When I look at him, I know that his desire is that no one would perish. And he lives and breathes that as he travels through the streets of Indianapolis. Always, and you rarely ever will see him without a great big old grin on his face. We Power audience, welcome to the We Power podcast. We know him as Synergy. Synergy, man, welcome to the podcast, man. So glad to finally have you here in the studio, brother. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm really grateful to have this moment with you. It's more so of a fellowship, you know what I mean? Yeah, than within the podcast. So thank you for having me.
Man, it's a pleasure, man. So, what I want to do, man, as you know, the theme of the show is being able to identify what works for you. And clearly, as I watch you up close and from a distance, man, you've been able to identify what works for you. But on the same token, because you have been able to identify what works for you, you run in that lane so strong that I believe synergy. I believe you are more often than not, misunderstood. Yeah. So I want to kind of break that through the podcast.
Yeah.
Brief, we won't be able to do it all, but I think I just want to introduce the audience and people who will listen to this podcast, introduce synergy to the people who assume that they know synergy. This gives us a brief drop on who is synergy.
Yeah, so my name is Synergy. That's the name that I go by. It's my spiritual name that came in a very unique way. And I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. Born and raised up and down 38th Street, from the east side to the west side, from the west side to the east side. Literally, it was a point in time where it was every day, you know, I would in the morning go to the west side of Meridian, then at night go back to the east side, and it'll be back and forth for years. And it's funny because that was in my childhood, and it's going on like that now. Yeah, the same travels, but I'm from different parts of the city. I know the city pretty well, and I would like to consider myself a creative and social entrepreneur, and I also would label myself a strategist. Definitely someone with a lot of ideas.
Yeah. That is most definitely true. Let's help some people who might think they know you. To talk about. Let's go back. And I, as years have gone past, I vaguely remember you coming to our church, you and your group, and you guys were rapping. Let's go back and talk about
for sure.
Your younger days you still are a rapper.
Yeah.
But you still drop some bars.
Yeah.
But your bars are more leaning toward deeper messages today.
Yeah.
But talk to us about the field.
The field,
and
yeah.
What did you guys represent?
Yes,
what
sir.
Was your purpose, and what did that experience do to help you be who you are today?
Yeah, thank you for that. So the field, man, we've been in brotherhood, as a unit, as a group for since 2000. So that's 23 years. And before then, pertaining to my first love and creativity, it was actually art. Art was my first love. Always drawing, always thinking of different ideas and being inspired by other artists, from my family to friends, and always embracing the community and always loving music. So eventually, DaFilled came together through some previous groups and solo acts. It was a gentleman by the name of Mr. Witness, or Sharon Hooks, and man, that brother was cold with it. I met him through Overground Soldiers, and so it was actually through, as far as the rap. I was always involved in hip hop, as far as listening to Tribe and just everybody from that era, so but eventually, and I never thought I'd really be doing music, like I'm doing now, would play around with it. But I always loved music, from old school hip hop to old school soul music, R&B, jazz. I can even touch on that as far as
Let me ask you this: you guys were young, at that time. You guys were young, so you guys chose to go about the route of Christian gospel rap. At a young age. What? Why Christian gospel rap and not go the secular world of rap?
Yeah, so for me personally, I never really, anything I was writing, when I found out I was a writer, I was more so writing love letters to my high school sweetheart. and then I remember writing a poem to her, and I was like, wow, I wrote that, and so in pertaining to writing, I had an English teacher that really inspired me through having the class read this book called The Bluest Eye. And so I've always been into my heritage, as a Black person, finding out who we are as a people, and always been into the interest of the word, and how to be obedient, but of course still having rebellious ways. I recall a friend of mine, my late best friend Mylan Rouse. He passed away in 2021, and but when we were 18, he was like, man, we were about to go wild, really, honestly. We just got done graduating high school. He said, man, I'm about to, give my life to God to the fullest. And, when he shared his testimony, it was like, wind came. I felt it on my head, you know what I mean? And I was thinking, man, that's good. That's what's up. But, we gonna get out here. We still gonna wild out a little bit. But I saw a passion and a fire come, from his life, from his siblings' lives, and I was like, man, they actually got what I want. You know what I mean? I remember one time telling him that, when I was in search, I was like, man, I'm gonna give my life to God, and he was struggling. He was like, you should give your life to God. I told him, give your life to God, but he did it where I'm in like this, no holds barred, all in. Either you with me or you against me, either you gonna gather or you gonna scatter, like what the Messiah said, and I decided to do the same thing, and started going to Bible study with him and his family, and walked out of Bible study from Berean Bible Church, actually, off of but before it was on 56, it was at a school. It was a Bible study at a school, and Pastor Simmons, he was in the Word, you know what I mean? And we sit in the front row. You know how when you're young and you really want to know who God is, you just eating it up, and I'm just eating. Man, we looking at it, and we opening the Bible, and we just So one day coming out the Bible study, and as a matter of fact, let me give credit to my mother, because I remember I was doing something wrong. She was like, well, baby, if you're going to give your life to God, you can't be halfway. You know what I mean? And then, and that's when I told my best friend, man, I'm going to go ahead and do it for real. And I told my mother. And, man, we walked out of a Bible study one day and just excited. And that's when I would consider myself becoming born again, born of the Spirit, because it was like this load that I didn't know I had on me just lifted. And
so at that point you knew the hand of God.
I knew I changed. And
how did you feel? Was it like an experience that you knew the hand of God was on your life? And like David cried out, Lord, whatever you do, don't take your hand from me. Don't take your power from God. Whatever you do, don't leave me.
Right. Yeah. It was supernatural. You know what I mean? It was beyond me. And my friends, they were listening. Mylan Rouse, Ivan Rouse, and I forgot who else was in the car during this time. Maybe Jamal, one of my other best friends. And so we in the car during this time. I'm not for sure if Jamal was in the car during that time, but we in the car and we rolling and singing Mississippi Mass Choir songs. You know what I mean? And I really didn't like gospel songs like that. But it was like Mississippi. They got that soul. I like that soulful. You know what I mean? But sometimes it just be like, and I'm like, I don't want to hear all that. Right. But that soulful stuff, man, Mississippi, they were bringing it, and we were praising Abba, like just rolling around. It was like that Far Side album cover, a bizarre ride to the far side, you know, and hands up in the air, you know. But we was high off the yacht.
You guys made gospel look cool, man.
Word.
Yeah. You guys came to our church. It was a youth event.
Yeah.
And you guys set it ablaze. Is there one particular song from the field in the younger days?
One particular.
Really hit home for you?
From the field?
Yeah.
Man, bro, look. Man, so the way the field came together was through Mr. Witness's album. Mr. Witness, he did that. Like when we first heard him through Overground Soldiers, which consisted of Big Tim, J3, Flo, B. Ren, Ralph, J3, James Miles, you know, Big Tim Ware, which is actually his father was head of the Bible Church off of Short Ridge. He was like president, Pastor Ware. Charles Ware. Yeah. And they was cold too. Yeah, and my best friend, my late best friend Mylan, he used to dance for Overground Soldiers, OGS, and him and Shauna. And so anyway, but they had this record deal through this local record company owner named Corey Johnson, and that's not the first time I heard Mr. Witness. First time I heard Mr. Witness was over at that Christian bookstore on the west side in Pike Plaza, right by Value City. I forgot what it was called. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, but Smooth Pete, he used to be in there, in the music section, much love to Smooth Pete, and so I saw this dude with these big bifocals on, right? Right. But he was standing there, you could tell his nigga was in prison. Bifocals. Yeah. And it said Mr. Witness. Okay. And, you thinking, who is this nerd dude? From the streets, Anyway, but it said Mr. Witness. Go ahead. He came up with the prison bifocals, Right. And so he had it was tapes, He mixed tapes, but he had a tape like a single. We had one song on one side, another song. He had the Save Life on one side, and he had Born Again Christian on the other. Whew. You know what I mean? Right. I mean, like if you know anybody that listened to Mr. Witness, like even it was a record label. Do you remember any lines off of that? Man, I've been living for the Lord about 16 months. Ain't selling no drugs, ain't smoking no blunts. You know what I mean? Yeah, okay. Like, so he's man, I mean, testimony, like he was like it was other people called Mr. Witness back then, but it was kind of corny. I don't know if they did rap or sing or whatever, or just out there like, my name is Mr. Witness. Right. He was Mr. M-I-S-T-A. You know what I mean? I prayed for salvation. Man, he was hard. Wow. You know what I mean? And so I was like, dang. And everybody was talking about, this dude, Mr. Witness is hard. And Overground Soldiers in the studio, they ended up recording a song with him, and that was cold. And we was just like, man, this dude cold. Anyway, Overground Soldiers ended up splitting up, and we formed a group, and it was like 9 of us. You know what I mean? And we was trying to figure out what name we was gonna call ourselves. About 9 plus or something like that. So we called ourselves Homeless. And I came up with the name, with me and my ideas, but they went for it, because it was a J3 and B Ren. They formed Roaming the Globe with no fixed abode. Just like the Messiah, he didn't have a place to lay his head. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. Yeah, and it was like. That's deep. I can already tell what happened. Part 1. Oh. Part 3. So tell us about some of
experiences where you felt like the field may have changed lives?
Word. So going to the song, I gotta answer that if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah.
It changed lives. So the song. So anyway, homeless. And after that, the homeless, we were going our separate ways. Had a conversation with Mr. Witness, Eel, or and his name was Eel then, and he was younger than us, and he was cold too. He had a story too, man. And Big Tim Ware. And I was like, man, I want to put together this group called DaFilled. And Tim, he was in the group, so it was like 4 of us at first.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But it ended up being 3 of us because Big Tim, he had focused on education, man. He got his own charter school and everything, very successful individual and a great friend. And so we had this song called $4, and it was about gas prices.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Shoot. My 87's price looking like 93s. 89's looking like it's too much cheese. Hex, nah, Albert Paul's quick to disagree. But it was, the hook was, $4 ain't no money on that tank no more. You better get your butt up and hit the door. And the beat, it was so soulful. We had this dude named Brother Lee from the Toy Factory. I didn't even really know about the Toy Factory then, but he, I think he was Pastor Malachi Walker's brother, I think.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They look alike at least. Anyway, yeah, so boom. It was bass, bass was real important during those times, you know what I mean? So that was around late 90s. Then, Mr. Witness had his album, it was on his album, we would perform it, and it was like, yo, this is what's up. Everybody loved it. People still talk about it. Somebody would send me a message today. Hey, I was just thinking about gas prices and we thought about that song $4. Can you send it to me? So but another song was Y'all Christians. Y'all Christians. Man, it was. Well, I posted it on Facebook, and we went around in different places in the city and then all around the states and rhyme. But we did that song and going to church in Chicago, and we had 2. It was 2 services at this one church, and we was acting it out and everything. But first it was me and Oche on the song, or Eel on the song, and we were doing it, at churches and whatnot, and it was nice. But we was like, "Hey, Mr. Witness, get on this." Killed it. You know what I mean? All the lyrics was cold, and the whole song was really cold for that. It was like, y'all Christians, why don't you ever listen to these rhymes that we be spitting when we're spitting about them scriptures? Y'all Christians, why don't you ever listen to the rhymes that we be spitting when we spitting about repentance? You know what I mean? We were just going in like, why? Why aren't we bearing fruit? You know what I'm saying? And so y'all got to check that out on YouTube. Check out DaFilled, DaFilled, and look up going to church. Y'all Christians, I'm trying to spell Yahweh. So YAW, y'all Christians. Yeah, so that was a hit. But
so all the DaFilled music they can find on YouTube.
Not all of it, but yeah, you can find a lot of our music. You can find some music on YouTube, and then you can also purchase it, on all platforms.
Okay. We're gonna be running out of time, but as we close out the show, let us begin to segue from DaFilled to how you were able to identify synergy.
Yeah.
With your calling, and let's wrap it up there. But we'll do a part 2, and we'll go deeper into who Synergy is today. But this last portion of the show, about 3 to 4 minutes, talk to us about your path and you being able to identify
for sure
how you became synergy.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had one more question before that. You remember it? Anyway, we'll find out when we listen to the recording. But so DaFilled, we became all things to all people.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So we weren't just gospel rap, but we were definitely centered in the gospel. We were centered in the scriptures. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was we would like to call it a milk ministry because we didn't want to get too technical with doctrine. You know what I mean? Because we wrestled with that when we were in homeless, coming from different churches, different divisions. You know what I mean? And so we wanted to meet the people where they were or where they're at, and because we needed to be met where we were and where we're at, now. And so we were able to rhyme about anything, you know what I mean, and bring it back home, you know what I mean, and with knowledge, with wisdom, with clarity, understanding, with love, with the spirit and truth, you know what I mean. And so some messages were direct, like y'all Christians, but though that was for the church, you know what I mean. That was for the body. We had the other songs that were for the streets. We had other songs that was for the youth. We had other songs that was for the community. We were always community oriented. We had other songs that was hit, this is hip hop, you know what I mean, and hip hop from another dimension, So we can go in these different venues, avenues where we can relate to the people, because we've been there from different walks of life. All of us had different walks of life, different testimonies. And so the way I came over to Synergy, that's really a story in itself. But I'll just say I had to get honest with myself on another level, on a reality, like I really, really, really can't do this. You know what I mean? Where, how we try to be y'all Christians in our own strength, or be obedient in our own strength, and then we trying to,
too blessed to be stressed.
Yeah, and then being a creative individual, I'm just different. You know what I mean? And I had to realize how different I was outside of the what is so-called normacy of who a man is. Am I making sense?
Yeah. So leading down your path to become Synergy, you had an epiphany, if you will, that to be who God has called you to be, you had to become honest with yourself. Man, that's deep. We're gonna wrap it up here, but we're gonna pick it right back up in Synergy Misunderstood Part 2. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the We Power podcast, the We Power broadcast, especially this episode, Synergy Misunderstood. We're gonna pause it right here, but stay tuned, stay close for Part 2. And again, I want to thank our sponsors, Victories Insurance Agency LLC, FreeBirds General Contracting, and Life Financial Solutions. If you would like to become a sponsor of the We Power podcast, the We Power broadcast, please hit me in the inbox, and we will see you next time.
Yeah.